What if the greatest minds in psychology have been revealing the real dynamics of attraction for over a century? While millions of women constantly seek attention in ways that drain their dignity, wondering why their relationships feel like emotional battlefields, there exists a small circle of women who seem to effortlessly command devotion, respect, and genuine desire from men. They don't chase, they attract. They don't beg, they choose. They don't settle, they inspire. And here's the part that stings. The difference isn't beauty, money, or luck. It's understanding. Most people walk through life completely unaware of the invisible patterns shaping their relationships, their connections, their influence, their worth. But the ones who wake up to these patterns, they become unforgettable. They learn how to move differently, not to manipulate, but to live consciously. And when you begin to see the game for what it is, when you stop leaking power and start standing in it, you don't just shift how others treat you, you shift how you see yourself. This isn't just about dating, attraction, or social dynamics. This is about reclaiming your inner stillness, your Stoic center, in a world constantly trying to pull you out of alignment. Stoicism teaches us that power isn't found in controlling others, it's in mastering the self. That's what we're doing here. Not chasing approval, but choosing awareness. Not seeking dominance, but cultivating presence. Because once you understand these psychological truths, you don't just react to life, you respond to it with clarity and strength. If something in this speaks to you, like it's putting words to a truth you've always felt, consider subscribing. It's a simple act, but it helps keep this space alive for people who are serious about growing, thinking deeper, and walking through life with more clarity and intention. 1. The craving for validation. Some people spend their whole lives chasing praise without even realizing it. They'll bend their identity, shift their opinions, and exhaust themselves trying to earn approval from people who often aren't even paying attention. Think about how often people do things not because they truly believe in them, but because they want someone to clap. The gym photos, the constant updates, the humble brags disguised as conversations, it's all rooted in the same craving, to feel like we matter. And honestly, that's not evil or shallow, it's deeply human. Here's where Stoicism drops a hard but freeing truth. Your sense of worth cannot come from how many people cheer for you. It has to be built from the inside out. Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The same goes for praise. It's not the validation that's the problem, it's how much we depend on it. Because when people know you're craving approval, they can control you. They'll withhold attention to make you chase. They'll give praise to keep you in line. But when you become someone who's rooted, someone who chooses when to give praise and when to stay silent, you shift the dynamic completely. People start paying attention to what you say because they know you don't say things just to make others feel good. Your words carry weight. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That constant need for recognition, that desire to please, that's your unconscious programming running the show, and if you don't wake up to it, it'll keep pulling your strings. But here's the good news. The moment you become aware of it, you get to decide. You get to choose when you speak, when you praise, and when you let silence speak louder. Try it. The next time someone's clearly fishing for validation, hold back. Let the space speak. Then when they actually do something that moves you, something real, something meaningful, offer a short, genuine response. Not flattery, just truth. That was solid. No emojis, no over-explaining, just that. Watch what happens. You'll see how something so simple becomes powerful when it's rare. That's not manipulation, that's mastery. 2. Predictable behavior kills curiosity. We've all been there. You're trying to be kind, responsive, emotionally available. You think it shows care. But somewhere along the line, it starts to backfire. People take longer to reply. They stop being as enthusiastic. You feel like you're giving everything and getting crumbs in return, and you start wondering what changed. But the answer is simpler and sharper than most people want to admit. You became predictable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you've removed all the tension. You've made yourself so emotionally available, so easy to reach, so consistent in your responses that there's no curiosity left. And once curiosity dies, interest follows. Let's take a step back. Human beings are wired to notice change, to feel drawn toward the unknown, the slightly out of reach. Plato once said, "The measure of a man is what he does with power." And emotional power, your ability to create presence, is often in what you hold back, not what you always give away. If people know exactly how you'll react, exactly when you'll respond, and exactly what you'll say, there's no spark left. It's like playing a game you've already won. There's no thrill, no risk, no reason to lean in. Stoicism teaches us the value of self-restraint. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That applies perfectly here. You don't need to respond instantly. You don't need to share every detail of your day. You don't need to be available at every moment just to prove you care. In fact, when you stop doing that, people start tuning in differently. When they're not sure what you'll say, when they wonder what you're thinking, when they notice you're not always immediately accessible, it creates emotional gravity. You pull them in without pushing anything. Carl Jung believed mystery was essential to human connection. He said, "Mystery is the essential element in all works of art." And that includes you. You are a kind of art. But when you give everything away too easily, your thoughts, your routines, your emotions, you erase the edges that make you interesting. You stop being a puzzle and become a pamphlet. Easy to read, easy to set down. Pause. Don't reply out of habit. Sit with your thoughts before you speak. Share a little less than you want to. Let people reach toward you instead of always reaching for them. Because tension isn't a bad thing. It's the space between connection and clarity that makes people pay attention. Predictability is comfort, but unpredictability, that's power. 3. The desperate need to be understood. You've probably had this moment. Someone's talking to you, and instead of just saying what's going on, they explain every little thing, why they did it, what they meant, how they felt. It's like they're trying to cover every angle before you can judge them, and while it may seem like over-talking, what they're really doing is asking for something much deeper than a response. They're asking to be seen, not for the surface stuff, but for the emotion underneath, for the thing they're too scared to name out loud. And when you're the person who notices that without being told, you instantly become someone different in their eyes. Not just a listener, someone who gets it, someone who gets them. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." That hits hard, doesn't it? Because most people aren't starved for company, they're starved for connection. And the easiest way to give someone that connection isn't to solve their problem. It's to reflect what they're feeling without them having to spell it out. That's the magic of emotional mirroring. When you say, "You sound like you're carrying a lot," or "You look like that really bothered you," you're not guessing, you're seeing. And that kind of recognition, it's rare and powerful. The Stoics teach us to observe before we act, to listen before we speak. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." In this case, being tolerant means seeing through the noise, the words, the justifications, and into the feeling. Instead of rushing to give advice or fix the situation, you pause, you lean in, you reflect what you notice, and in doing that, you give people a mirror they didn't know they needed, one that doesn't judge, one that simply says, "I see you." And here's the twist most people miss. When you do that, people trust you more. They let their guard down. They start telling you things they wouldn't say to others. Why? Because you've already done the one thing they crave most. You've made them feel understood. And once someone feels understood by you, they stop needing to perform for you. The masks drop. The truth shows up. That's not manipulation, it's presence. And presence is power. So the next time you're in a conversation and someone seems off, don't just listen to their words. Watch their tone, their eyes, their posture. Then reflect gently. That one move can turn surface-level talk into a real human moment, and that's what people remember. 4. Fear of not being good enough. You can feel it in a room without anyone saying a word. That subtle tension, that quiet pressure people carry, wondering if they measure up. Most of us are walking around with some version of that silent fear. I'm not enough. It doesn't always look like insecurity. Sometimes it wears a mask, confidence, humor, even arrogance. But underneath, it's the same fear, especially when someone walks in who doesn't need approval, who isn't chasing attention, who doesn't flinch in silence. That calm presence, it can shake people, not because it's loud, but because it holds a mirror to what others are still struggling with inside. And when someone sees you aren't playing the same approval-seeking game they are, it creates friction, but also fascination. Here's where the dynamic flips. The moment you stop looking for validation, people start wondering why. That indifference, when it's grounded, not cold, feels powerful. It makes them curious, and in many cases, it unsettles something inside them. That's because your self-assurance highlights their self-doubt. But this isn't an invitation to manipulate. This is a chance to stay grounded. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." When your calm rattles someone else, it's not your job to fix their reaction, but it is your opportunity to understand where it's coming from. Stoic wisdom reminds us that real strength is quiet. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." And someone else's insecurity? That lies far beyond your control. What you can control is your response to it. Instead of feeding their fear with superiority or indifference that turns cold, meet it with composure. Hold your ground, but don't press on the bruise. When you stay centered while someone else feels off balance, you become someone they look up to, not someone they defend themselves against. Don't exploit their fear. Respect it. Recognize it. You're not there to challenge them. You're there to stay in alignment with yourself. That kind of presence speaks for itself. You don't have to dominate to be powerful. You don't have to chase to be wanted. When you're secure in who you are, people notice. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it. And many will chase that feeling, not because you demanded their attention, but because you showed them what it looks like to stand whole without needing theirs. That's not ego, that's clarity, and clarity is rare. 5. Addiction to praise, not growth. It's funny how often people say they want to grow, want to evolve, want to be better, but the moment growth starts to feel uncomfortable, they pull back. What they usually want isn't real transformation. They want reassurance, applause, someone to tell them they're doing amazing even when they're clearly coasting. And let's be real, it feels good to be praised, to be affirmed. but there's a difference between being supported and being enabled. Real growth doesn't always come with a standing ovation. Sometimes it comes with stillness, with discomfort, with someone looking you in the eye and saying, "You can do better." And that person, the one willing to say it, that's the one you remember. In today's world, praise is cheap. It's everywhere. A like here, a fire emoji there. People hand out compliments like they're trying to keep the peace, not build someone up. But true admiration isn't just about clapping for who someone is right now. It's about believing in who they could be and being bold enough to say so. That's what Plato meant when he spoke about the highest form of love being the kind that helps another soul grow into its full potential. It's not flattery, it's guidance. It's a mirror held up with compassion and courage. Stoic philosophy leans hard into this idea. The Stoics didn't believe in coddling, they believed in truth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to be both firm and kind, stern with his own faults, but understanding of others. That's the model. You see someone slacking, not because they're lazy, but because they've forgotten what they're capable of, and you say it, calmly, directly. Not to shame them, but to call them back to themselves. That kind of honesty. It's rare, but it's magnetic. People might resist it at first, but deep down, we all crave to be seen, not just for who we are, but for who we could be. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." Helping someone awaken to their own strength is a gift, but it requires you to be awake too. It takes strength to hold others accountable with love, to say, "You're better than this," and mean it. But when you do, you create relationships built on respect, not convenience, on truth, not performance. And in a world full of empty praise, being the one who calls someone higher with grace is unforgettable. 6. Social sensitivity and status awareness. You ever notice how the quietest person in the room sometimes holds the most power? They're not trying to dominate the conversation, not trying to prove anything, and yet people can't help but notice them. There's a stillness, a confidence that isn't loud but feels solid. That's the kind of presence that speaks louder than words ever could. And the truth is, people are always watching. Not in a paranoid, everyone's staring at you way, but in a quiet, subconscious way. They notice how you walk into a room, whether your shoulders are tight or relaxed, whether you look people in the eye or avoid their gaze. They watch how you treat the server at the cafe, how you respond when plans fall through, how you carry yourself when nobody's clapping for you. The Stoics would tell you that how you move through the world matters more than what you say about yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." That's the heart of it. You don't have to tell people who you are if you're already living it. Your energy, your tone, your choices, they do the talking for you. Confidence isn't about being loud. It's about being grounded. It's about walking into a room like you belong there, not because you're better than anyone, but because you're no less than anyone. Carl Jung talked about the persona, the mask we wear in public. He warned that many people confuse their mask with their real identity. But the person who carries themselves with quiet confidence, that's someone who's dropped the mask. They're not performing. They're not shrinking to fit in or puffing up to stand out. They're just present. And that kind of authenticity has gravity. People are drawn to it, not always because they can name it, but because it feels real in a world full of pretense. The next time you step into a space, try something. Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't second-guess your worth. Just hold your ground. Make eye contact. Move with intention. Speak when you have something to say. And if you don't, let the silence work in your favor. People won't remember every word you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And nothing leaves a deeper impression than the quiet strength of someone who respects themselves without needing anyone else's permission. That kind of presence, subtle but lethal. 7. Inconsistencies between words and actions. It's easy to say the right things. Most people have a handful of values they love to recite when the moment calls for it. Loyalty, honesty, integrity. They sound strong, clean, noble. But those words don't carry weight until they're backed by action. And here's where things often fall apart. Someone claims they value honesty, but you catch them bending the truth. They preach loyalty, but disappear when things get hard. It's not that they're lying intentionally. It's that they haven't really tested their own values. They've just gotten good at saying the right thing, hoping it's enough to keep people close. Now, here's the move that separates the passive from the powerful. When someone's actions contradict their values, you don't need to yell, you don't need to shame. You just calmly remind them of what they said. You said honesty mattered most. Does this match that? That one sentence can shake someone more than a full-blown argument. Why? Because you're not accusing, you're reflecting. You're holding up a mirror they can't look away from. And when people realize you actually listen, not just to their words, but to the space between their words, they see you differently. You're not someone they can charm. You're someone they have to respect. The Stoics were masters of this. They believed in holding yourself and others to the same standard. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change." That's not weakness, that's maturity. But here's the part most people miss. You can't expect accountability from others if you're not living it yourself. If you call people out but make excuses when your own actions fall short, your words lose all power. Integrity starts at home. When your behavior lines up with your values, your presence becomes a quiet challenge to anyone who's just pretending. Carl Jung believed that facing your shadow, those hidden contradictions between who you think you are and how you actually behave, was essential for growth. And when you hold someone accountable with clarity and calm, you're helping them face that shadow. You're not punishing them. You're inviting them to level up. Most people won't say it out loud, but deep down, we all respect the person who doesn't let us slide, the one who keeps us honest, not with anger, but with consistency. Don't be afraid to call someone in when their words and actions don't match. Just do it from a place of steadiness, not superiority. That's how you build respect, not just in their eyes, but in your own. 8. Disconnection from true energy. It's a strange thing, how easy it is to drift away from who you really are without even realizing it. One day you're doing things that feel honest, natural, effortless. Then slowly, without meaning to, you start adjusting. You post what you think will get more likes. You speak in a way that won't offend. You chase careers, relationships, or lifestyles that look good on the outside, even if they feel hollow on the inside. And what's even scarier, you might not even notice the shift. You've become so used to performing for the world that you've forgotten what it feels like to move in your own rhythm. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that's not just a poetic idea, it's a challenge. Because being authentic in a world obsessed with image takes guts. It's easier to follow trends, easier to be who people expect you to be. But real power, it doesn't live in the performance. It lives in the alignment, in the quiet clarity that comes when your actions match your inner truth. When you stop chasing applause and start honoring your own frequency, something powerful happens. You stop blending in. You start standing out, not in a loud, flashy way, but in a grounded, magnetic way that people feel. Stoic philosophy teaches us to stop outsourcing our worth, to stop basing our identity on things we can't control, other people's opinions, status, fame. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." That hits hard, because the truth is, you don't need to be like anyone else to be powerful. You just need to be real. Whether you're quiet and reflective or bold and expressive, that energy becomes magnetic when it's authentic. It creates a subtle gravity. People don't always know why they're drawn to you, but they are. Instead of looking out there for who to become, look in. Ask yourself, what feels real to me? What energizes me? What drains me? What have I been doing just to be accepted? The answers won't always be clean or easy, but they'll be yours. And when you start making choices from that space, your space, you begin to build a presence that can't be faked. That's how you create connection without chasing it, respect without demanding it, influence without forcing it. You don't need to perform, you just need to return to yourself. Because when you're deeply aligned, people feel it, and they won't always understand it, but they'll want to be around it. 9. Lack of unshakable self-worth. There's something quietly heartbreaking about watching someone live a life they don't truly want. You can see it in their eyes. They stay in relationships that drain them, jobs that numb them, environments that shrink them. And when you ask why, the answers are always dressed up in logic. It's just not the right time, or I don't want to start over. But underneath all those words is usually one silent belief. I don't really think I deserve better. That belief runs deep, and it keeps people stuck, not because they lack talent or courage, but because they've accepted a version of themselves that was shaped by fear instead of truth. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. And when your actions say, 'I'll tolerate this,' the world listens. It reflects that message back to you." That's the catch. Life doesn't respond to what you hope for. It responds to what you settle for. But the moment you decide that your standards are non-negotiable, something shifts. It's subtle at first. You stop chasing validation. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop begging people to treat you right. And instead, you start choosing. Choosing peace, choosing growth, choosing relationships that feel reciprocal and careers that actually feed your soul. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we don't control the world. We control how we show up in it. Epictetus believed that the foundation of freedom is found in knowing what's within our power and what isn't. Your standards, that's within your power. How people treat you in response, that's not. But when you embody those standards, when you carry yourself like someone who knows they deserve respect, the world adjusts. Not because you forced anyone to change, but because your energy no longer invites disrespect. This isn't about ego. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about clarity, knowing who you are, knowing what you bring to the table, and refusing to sit at tables where that's not seen or honored. That kind of self-respect doesn't make you rigid. It makes you magnetic. People feel it. And the ones who value substance will lean in closer, not because you chase them, but because your presence invites something deeper than convenience. Stop begging, stop settling, start aligning, because when you operate from that place, calm, clear, rooted in your worth, you don't just attract better things, you become the kind of person who naturally rises above anything that no longer fits. That's not ego. That's growth. That's choosing instead of chasing. And that's when everything begins to change. The truth is, life doesn't hand you what you deserve. It mirrors what you believe you're worth. And the moment you stop settling, the world starts to meet you at your level. If something in this resonates with you, there's another video waiting for you. It's on the screen now, and it's just as real. Thanks for spending your time here. Hold on to whatever spoke to you, and come back anytime you're ready for more.